Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about accuracy stacking's ridiculous damage potential. So I'm currently preparing a accuracy stacker on stream over on twitch.tv/Palsteron, and one of the things that I've been asked a lot is why accuracy stacker? And I'm not surprised that accuracy stacker isn't played more because it is gated behind quite a paywall, but overall I feel like it has always been a little bit underrated. But it had its reasons why it's underrated, because it had some downsides, which we're going to talk about, because those downsides over the patches and over the years have been kind of made redundant, which makes 3.19 actually the perfect time to get into accuracy stacker. But before we get into all that, what are the payoffs of stacking accuracy? So there's 5 main ones here. First, we have the Juggernaut Undeniable Notable. This is basically the reason why you can basically only be a Marauder. You can get it with Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh, but you can also just go Juggernaut on its own, and this gives you attack speed per 150 accuracy. Now, going forward, the numbers won't really tell you much because you won't really know how much accuracy can we actually get. We'll get to that later. I'll have it all visualized. So first up, this basically takes care of all your attack speed needs, and not only will it mean that this is high damage, but it will also mean that you have very high Whirling Blade speed, which means there's not just one of these stackers that's just there for boss killing and that doesn't have any movement speed. It doesn't have any attack speed. Very little stackers actually have something like that. Strength stacker doesn't have it. Int stacker doesn't have it. And dex stackers simply cannot get to this amount of attack speed. We'll talk about that in a second. Number 2, we have Oscarm. So increased attack critical strike chance per 200 accuracy. Completely busted. These gloves basically on its own cap your crit. Then we have Storm Rider Boots, which was an addition in Ritual League. This is basically where the whole accuracy stacking started from this here on out. It gives you flat added lightning damage per 200 accuracy, and it also gives you the 25% less accuracy rating, but as you will see, that doesn't matter whatsoever for as much upside as you get. And then we have increased damage modifiers from both Obscurantis, which gives 1% increased damage per 200 accuracy, and then also Divergent additional accuracy rating. As you can see here, the quality gives you 4% increased attack damage per 1,000 accuracy. And then if you put it, for example, into a Squire, which gives you quality, and you have a 23 quality right here, it shoots up from 4 to 6. All right, so I put everything together, and you might say that's not that impressive, right? On a usual build, you're like 1,000 accuracy is actually pretty hard to get. And what do you get? 1 to 35 lightning damage, 10% increased crit chance, 11% damage, and 7% attack speed. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, seems all right, might be a meme build. But then let's look at, for example, a min-maxed version. You can actually get more accuracy than I have, but I currently have 82,000 accuracy, and it is actually possible to get over 100,000, and I'll show you how. But just to visualize just how much you get from these payoff items, 1 to 2,807 lightning damage, basically capped crit, 902 increased damage, and 574% increased attack speed. And these are all impressive. A lot of increased damage, a lot of crit, a lot of lightning damage. But that's not something that an int stacker or a strength stacker couldn't do. But this attack speed increase is what basically makes accuracy stacker so strong. Attack speed is usually that thing that's premium, the thing that's left out from all your scaling. You can get flat damage from something like a replica Alberons, right? But attack speed, that is just really hard to get. And I have to make this clear, the items that you have to use are actually not bad at all. It's not that you have to throw on a ton of really bad items to make this work. Storm Rider Boots is literally an implicit. You can get Tailwind, Elusive, Onslaught Boots if you want to, right? Second one, Obscurantis. It has a life roll, it has evasion, it also has up to 1,000 accuracy rating in itself. Oscarms have an inbuilt mark if you wanted to use it. It has spell suppress, it has percentage accuracy, life, a little bit of minus chaos res. Overall, not the worst gloves either, and since they're unique, you can also double corrupt them for some nice mods, more to that later. And the additional accuracy support would be good either way because of how much accuracy it gives, and the scaling you get with the Divergent is just completely nuts. But now you might ask, how the hell do you get that much accuracy? And the first and the biggest point is this jewel combo right here. So I'm actually going to look at this in POB so you can kind of visualize just how crazy these 3 jewels are. So first up, we have a Brutal Restraint. Now what Brutal Restraint does is it has certain random effects on your notables that are in this radius, right? It gives you a keystone. We don't care about that at all. What we care about is everything that it gives to the small nodes that we don't take. So look at these small nodes here. All these small nodes get +4 to dexterity, which is completely useless because we're not allocating them, right? But in the end, we're also using Transcended Spirit. And what Transcended Spirit does is it gives you 125 accuracy rating per per 10 dexterity that is not allocated, which means all of these small nodes that overlap in these two radiuses will be converted to accuracy basically at this rate. Just to quickly give you a little bit of a glance, we have 147 mil DPS right here. Let's see what happens if I just remove 1 joule. Yeah, just to give you even more of a perspective, let's see at how much accuracy we have. Here we have 82,000, and just removing this 1 joule here will get us to 68. We can visualize that a lot better in-game here. It says it gives us 2,175 accuracy rating, which gets basically multiplied by all the increased accuracy rating. Now, you can see one thing here, though, is it gives you reduced movement speed because that is one of the downsides. You also get reduced movement speed per 10 dexterity on unallocated, which is why you usually want to play this with a build that goes Whirling Blades. Because if you have a movement speed character like a bow character or a wander, you can do this, but you have to compensate for the movement speed somehow. If you're shield charging, same thing. So you really want a build that can make use of Whirling Blades where it doesn't really matter. So we make use of both of these, and let's just see what we would do if we didn't have this combo. We would basically go to 1/3 of our damage. Second up, we have Precursor Emblems. Now these are basically delve rings. They have a vendor recipe. You can look it up on the wiki. And basically these have random rolls that are affected by how many charges you have. And there's versions for power charges, endurance charges, and also frenzy charges. And one of the mods you can get on here is 10% increased accuracy rating per frenzy charge. Now, turns out this is actually incredible, and it also scales with attack catalyst. So just to show you how good, for example, a 24% increased accuracy rating ring is, the mods can roll twice. So basically there's 3 rolls for a random mod. So for example, increased physical damage reduction per frenzy charge, or as you can see here, added cold damage per frenzy charge. You can roll up to 3 times the accuracy rating if you're super lucky, but that is almost impossible. So I'm usually going for the 24 ones. And just to show you how good these rings are, let's put them both away. And you can see here, they're pretty much irreplaceable. And then we have the Divergent additional accuracy, which we already talked about. It also gives you a lot of flat accuracy, as well as that, obviously, precision is your best aura. You don't scale it too much with aura effect, but just the 800-ish accuracy alone is insane. We also substitute that with all the accuracy wheels on the tree, with Weathered Hunter right here, which is incredibly strong, Acuity here, and Depth Perception here. They also have incredible masteries. So Precision has Mana Reservation Efficiency is nice. The 2 big ones are increased accuracy rating against uniques. This is like 10% more damage against unique enemies. Completely busted. As well as that, we also have Dexterity, gives you 3 accuracy instead of 2, which gives us another roundabout 300 accuracy. Now you might say, okay, so far this seems completely absurd. You have like items that kind of double or triple your damage. What the hell is going on? What are these numbers? And then we go to the downsides though, because there are some. However, as we will talk about afterwards, these downsides have actually been alleviated ever since accuracy stacking has been introduced. We'll go over that in a second. But first up, what are the downsides? First up, there are no inherent defenses from accuracy stacking. If you stack intelligence, you get a ton of increased energy shield. You will easily go above 10k energy shield. If you go strength stacking, you can go 7, 10k life because you get +1 life per 2 strength, as well as that, even as an accuracy stacker, at least you get a free 100% spell suppress from Magebane. Then we have the second downside, which is it's really hard to actually scale crit multi. And I just want to emphasize this by saying it's really hard to grasp just how good these clusters are. For example, if I remove this cluster here, normal damage clusters for 4 points, you get like 15% more damage or something if they're good. Like, look at what happens with this. It's completely insane, right? We're talking about 20% more damage for 3 points, and then you get this 1 pointer here, which gives you another like 8% more damage. It is out of this world. So the problem is you cannot cut these really. And the only things you could cut is even more life, but then we go back to having no inherent defenses, and you have to kind of make up for that. So crit multi, kind of hard to scale. And then the third thing used to be that spell suppression was really hard to cap because most of it came from gear instead of the passive tree, and they kind of amended that, and we'll go over that in a second. Now let's talk about how we can get around those downsides and why the last few patches have been so incredible for accuracy stackers. Let's talk about the workarounds of what we just talked about. First up, defenses. Juggernaut got some new notables this patch. One of them is Unbreakable. So what this node basically does is it lets you stack armor, and other than just giving you phys damage reduction, 8% of the armor also works for elemental damage. And on first glance, you might say that's not that great, right? Why only 8%? What was GG thinking? I'll quickly remove my Molten Shell here so you have a little bit of a better grasp. So this is my max hit just with this node. Let's see what happens without. Doesn't look that great. This node alone gives me 40k max hit on a decently sized hit. So this is with the normal one, which is 2,320. So for example, Fire Max hit here is 68,000. Let's say a bigger hit, right? Armor gets worse and worse the bigger the hit is. Let's say the hit is actually 5,000. You can see here that this node still basically doubles my max hit. To facilitate that, we're also scaling some maximum resistances wherever we can get. We're using a impossible escape here to grab both prismatic skin and also soul of steel, and you can also get 2% max res from the chest, or you can even go for a brass dome. The second thing that happened is Nightblade basically got elusive masteries, and this is already for like 2 to 3 patches, but I feel like this hasn't really been catching on enough. This was a huge change for accuracy stacker because, as I said, it really has problems with crit multi. And even though we're not going dagger, just this elusive grants 40% crit multi supported by Nightblade basically makes it so you can scale this with elusive effect. As well as that, you can now get mirrored amulets, which, for example, this one could be mirrored and I could get like 90 to 100 crit multi. And at the end, a pretty big buff that doesn't seem like it is that spell suppression is now easier to get on the tree. A lot of builds have been nerfed by making it harder to get a spell suppression on your gear. But for accuracy stacker in particular, that's actually huge because you don't have that much ways to actually get it, right? A lot of your slots are blocked by uniques. So getting it on the tree itself is huge, and you can now get 100% pretty comfortably. Now, budget versions of this build usually use Replica Last Resort, and it is quite a good option. There's a few problems with it, obviously, why you want to later migrate into a weapon that has like a 9-link, 10-link weapon with Squire, but there's a few downsides. So you do get the 100% increased accuracy rating when on low life. All of these bonuses are while you're on low life, which you're going to get by using Petrified Blood. So 100% increased accuracy rating is nothing to scoff at. That's a lot of damage. The problem is you already get so much increased attack speed and so much increased damage that it actually has a lot of diminishing returns. So these two stats look a lot better than they actually are. And the third problem is that it doesn't have a lot of life gain on hit. And with a basically shell that gives you so much attack speed, you really want to get as much as possible. So you really would like to get that 46% life gain on hit from an Imperial Claw. That being said, Replica Last Resort is still incredibly strong. And for 10 chaos or whatever, you will not get a better upgrade until you go into like double-digit divines. So what skills can you actually play with this whole, let's say, template of accuracy stacker? Any attack projectile skill goes. You can go wander, you can go bow, but there's a few downsides. Mainly, you're going to lose a lot of movement speed from this combo here, as I said, and you're not going to get Nightblade, which is why that you can use with claws or daggers. That should definitely be here. And some of the more prominent ones are right here. But overall, what's my conclusion? Accuracy stacking has never been better. And the simple reason is because of Unbreakable. Because if you want to invest into something so hard like an accuracy stacker, you want to put in a lot of divines, maybe even mirrors, right? You want to have that one build that can basically destroy everything. You don't want a squishy build. And Unbreakable just kind of lets you get away with stacking accuracy and still having a lot of defenses. As well as that, what I have to say is mirror rings are overrated as hell. I'm going to talk about this in the video as well, in the build guide video that I'm going to release. But for example, in this build right here, as you can see right now, if I would replace my precursor, which I bought for 20 divine, I don't know what's going to happen, right? This is like the best of the best, right? This is accuracy rating, percentage global accuracy rating. This is like, I think, in a difficulty 15 or difficulty 16 right here. It also has increased elemental damage with attacks. If I put this on, as you can see here, I would lose almost 8% of my damage. But obviously, a lot of people are using mirrored rings to get minus resistance to use Doriani's prototype. And Doriani's prototype is awesome, don't get me wrong. The problem is, in a high investment build, as I just said, I don't want to invest hundreds of divines and then get one shot by lightning dots. And you cannot get around that on accuracy stacker. You cannot use Mahogzotl because Squire is too strong. Now, realistically, you could use it. But then again, you also cannot remove your Brutal Restraint. I'll show you once again why. You just cannot. So you cannot use the Timeless Jewel. So overall, you'll get decimated by lightning dot. And do you want to have an expensive build that dies to lightning dots? Just get instantly one shot. That's up to you. Same problem for Berserker. Berserker is actually going to be always #1 on PoE Ninja. If you want to be #1 on PoE Ninja, you can go Berserker on this. I also have a Berserker PoB. Basically, what will happen is you will have a third of the defenses for like double damage. And while that might be fine on a more budget version, because maybe you don't get to those numbers, the more you invest, the more you'll realize just how cozy it is to play Juggernaut, as well as that you have Unstoppable. But I'm going to go more into that in my actual build guide, which is going to come soon to you. But overall, I hope I could give you a little bit of an insight on a very interesting archetype that I will make a build guide for it soon. And yeah, see you next time. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do videos like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. But yeah, min-maxing this character, crafting for this character. I'm pretty sure we'll have some crafting highlights soon. About the claw that I made was an absolute blast. Overall, I will say that accuracy stacking is one of the more expensive archetypes for sure, but I just had to include it here because it's very, very fun to min-max. And with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.